Depression is anger turned inwards, where you feel like you can't express how you feel like you aren't supported, you feel like you are casted out into the world, you feel like you're drained. And these are symptoms of depression. Not everybody has the same degree of expression or degree of depression or expresses depression in the same way, but those are common features. So it's important for you to love on yourself, respect yourself, set boundaries for yourself, but also test the waters. Also live, do, be. Hey y'all, welcome to Self-Care Wednesday, because today's Wednesday. I wasn't able to conduct self-care last Sunday because I was out and about enjoying life and self-caring in practice, so I didn't have a time to do a painting session, as well as I was sore. But I'm gonna give y'all Self-Care Wednesday. So as per usual, let's do an inhale and an exhale and get into the themes. Inhale, exhale 3 times. Hopefully y'all are feeling good this Wednesday. It's actually September 1st. It's a whole new month, so happy September. Hopefully it's productive. Hopefully it's abundant. And you make progress in whatever you're trying to make progress in. So let's do a lavender spray so we can inhale all the goodness and the stabling energy that is lavender, because lavender is associated with like not only just self-care but like meditation and being firm and grounded and open and all that good stuff. So let's do that. One spray. And this is like a natural essential oil, so I would never like spray any random thing. Like, we're gonna be safe. But anyways, like I said, today is Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. And we're going to do some self-care. Just like last time, I guess. The last time I did a self-care video in regards to painting, I did like a pop-up art effect. So I'm going to do the same thing with another canvas that I have. This is the first self-care portrait that I did for Paint Your Truth as a solo facilitator. And it's pretty 3D, it's pretty 2D, it's pretty flat. And that's okay because that's how portraits typically are. But as I typically talk about how it is important to use a penny size of paint. And I know it sounds like a little bit amount, but the thing about painting, you can always add on, you can always build on. So you don't have to worry about like not having enough, because you'll always have enough. As well as when you overuse the paint, they end up looking very cakey like this, if you can see, and that's just like a no-go. So what I'm gonna do with the access paint is actually add it to the already painted canvases to give it more of a va-va-voom pop-up effect. So that's what we're gonna do. And just for an example for what I did last time and compare and contrast, I'm gonna show you what that looks like, and then I'm gonna show you later on towards the end of the video what the completed look looks like. So this is what it looked like, what we did with the pop-up art effect 2 weeks ago, so 2 Sundays ago. And as you can see, like these orange parts are just dried up paint that I added to the portrait. The yellow tops are the same way, and the middle of the flowers, those are actual dried up paints that I added to give a pop-up effect. So that's what we're gonna do with this canvas as well. If this was a typical workshop as the facilitator of Paint Your Truth process painting, I would be the one facilitating as well as giving all of the materials, the canvases, the paintbrush, the paint, the paint palettes, and all that jazz. All you got to do is come in and be prepared to participate and get into your self-care. What is different from process painting in comparison to traditional paint nights is the fact that there is no expectation that you're going to be an artist, that you're going to be Van Gogh, and if that's your goal, then be about it. But like, it's really about you getting into yourself. It's a method to self-care. No different than like going to therapy may require you to also be on medication, but it may not require you to be on medication because it depends on what you are going to therapy for, right? So this method, process painting, is a form of self-care, is a form of a holistic care, wellness, and it gets you back into your creative space. Like, how often do we actually use paint just for the fool-la-la of it, just for the breeziness, the comfort of it, right? There's no expectation that you're supposed to paint this particular image and everybody's having their version of the same image. What you paint is going to be different from the next person who participates in this process painting workshop, because everybody's initial idea of self-care and painting and wellness is going to be different from different people. And when I do facilitate Paint Your Truth process painting, I always ask the people who attend, what is their name first and foremost, because everybody likes to be addressed by their names. And then I would ask, what did you learn about yourself within the last 16 to 18 months during the whole pandemic? How did that affect you? What did you learn about yourself? And the final question would be, what brought you to Paint Your Truth, right? Because Paint Your Truth is about getting into your intimacy, is allowing yourself space and grace to just adapt, to just evolve, to just breathe, just to woosah and get into your own meditation, get into your own care, and be unapologetically selfish about it. After I asked the questions, that's when people would gather the supplies, and then we would sit down and then proceed with the painting. Typically over the course of process painting, you'll see people start off maybe like self-conscious, or they might judge themselves or like compare and contrast to other people. But as soon as they get into the rhythm of things, the music start playing, and they realize that there is nothing to it but just to do it, then they feel a lot more comfortable. People are talking, people are keen, and it's a good time, it's a good vibe. And that's what self-care is about, making sure that you get what you need from you. So now that I said my little blurb and everything, let me get into actually giving this the 3D effect that I want it to have. So we're gonna do a little camera magic, and y'all gonna see the canvas, and yeah, stay tuned. And we're back. I just realized that I did not sage the energy, so we're going to sage it before we get into it, because that's important to make sure the energy is fresh, the energy is safe, the energy is at its highest, optimum heights. So let's get into that. And I also didn't have the sage in front of me, so I was like, I think I'm missing something, and I am. So we're gonna light this thing up before we get into the pop-up effect. Ooh. Spirit, please clear out this room, this energy. Make sure it's for our highest and ultimate value. Make sure that it is prioritizing our happiness, our wholeness, our healing, our abundance. Let the creativity flow in its most authentic and most purposeful aspect. Let us be in the right state of mind, state of feeling, state of being, and let us create from our purest child, youthful, passionate, courageous energy. Whew. Alrighty. Let's make sure everything is lit out. So now we have the paint palette that's dried up. So we're gonna remove the what do you call this, aluminum foil, and you'll see, like, again, the paints are dry. And I'm gonna use parts of the paint that I want to use, and we're gonna add those parts into or onto the canvas. Honestly, I have no idea what I want to do with the parts of the paint, but I'll figure it out, because I always do. How are y'all doing today? I know it's midweek, So it's kind of funny. And Wednesday's the hump day. You know, once Wednesday happens, you know, you got 2 more days of the work week, and you're like, I'm all set, like 2 more days of vacation or mini vacation or weekend off or whatever the case may be. So maybe that's how you're feeling. If you are in the Louisiana area, my prayers are with you. Hopefully you are safe. Hopefully you have the needs to benefit you. And hopefully you are getting the support that you need. So definitely my prayers are those who were affected by Hurricane Ida, as well as those who are in uniform, and even civilians and everybody else who is affiliated with the whole troops coming out of Afghanistan. We're not going to get into that because this is self-care, but nonetheless, extending grace and space and caring for others is free 99. So there's that on that. What I'm going to do is get the hot glue situated. And again, be careful using hot glue because it's hot for a reason. So we got that on deck. And now we're just going to cut pieces of the dried up paint and see what it do. Do y'all have plans for autumn? And if so, what are your plans? Let me know in the comments down below. And if I, for whatever reason, don't upload a video of self-care, you can also find me on other places on social media. Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube. If I'm not on YouTube, then all those other places. And it's Paint Your Truth Everything. On Instagram, it's Paint Your Truth _. Don't forget the underscore. And yeah, I guess this would be the time for me to tell you what I was actually doing on Sunday. Well, actually Saturday. That spilled into Sunday, and that's why I couldn't do what I needed to do. But on Saturday, I went to a dance class. It was my first time going to a dance class. It was actually a pole dancing class, and it was so much fun. It was so feminine. It was so graceful. However, it's nothing to sneeze at, okay? It's legitimate work. It's legitimate like exercise, and I was legitimately exhausted after the class, so I didn't have the flexibility to actually conduct another Paint Your Truth session because I was literally sore. And then that night I went out with a couple of friends, and we went to this like retrograde arcade place, and we actually had some dinner and we had fun. We played games, and honestly the only game that I was really good at was Jenga, and we spent like a good 30-40 minutes playing Jenga. And the way we did it was so exciting because we actually did it like teamwork. It wasn't competitive, so each person got a turn, and then once they pulled out the block without destroying the pyramid of blocks, then you would add that block onto the top of the pyramid. So as you pull out the block and making sure that it doesn't disrupt the whole pyramid, you would add the new block that you pulled out on top of the already stacked up pyramid. So needless to say, when it fell, run for cover. And it was so fun. It was just fun. So that was my weekend last week. Exhausted by having all that fun, because low-key, high-key, I did kind of feel like you should kind of put something out there, because it is kind of my weekend thing to do painting, and it's a little bit hard to pull out dried up paint, so that's why I'm using the end of the scissors. So part of me was like, girl, you should put something out there. But I was like, I'll wait until the next weekend. And then I was like, you know what? It's kind of giving me, it was a dark and stormy night type of tease today because it's really rainy, really gray out. I was like, you know what? Let me just do some pop-up art, because the last time I did it, it was also giving me the tease of it was dark and stormy. But also, I want to get into my self-care. So that's why it ended up being a self-care Wednesday and not a Saturday or Sunday. Is there anything new going on in your life? I typically would say, you know, did you practice any religious ceremonies? Because Sunday tends to be the day. But did you practice any religious ceremonies last weekend? And if you do Wednesday, because I know some people, they might do like Bible study or whatever on a Wednesdays or anytime and within the week. So maybe that's what y'all did. Interesting, because I was actually having a conversation with one of my friends about religion, not necessarily religion versus spirituality, but like compare and contrast versus like that this side versus that side, roar. It wasn't that. It was just like, this is my stance and this is your stance, and it's not like fighting or trying to overcome the other person, just giving some context as to why this is my stance, not to discount your stance or to belittle your stance or give it less validity. I'm just explaining why I stand here, not saying that you need to stand where I'm standing, just letting you know why I stand here. Because everything doesn't have to be a battle. Everything doesn't have to be culture war. So I basically spoke about like why spirituality matters to me, how it has resonated with me. And I even let her know, which I guess I'm going to let y'all know, I grew up actually as a Jehovah's Witness. So for me to go from Jehovah's Witness, from there to here, it's a huge jump, but it shows my evolution as a person. So that's what I really told one of my friends. I was just like, you know what? Grew up Jehovah's Witness and all that good stuff, but I never felt that religion spoke to me. I never felt like it was of my choice, of my free will, because my parents did it, so therefore I did it. But I never felt a connection with the religion. However, with spirituality, it's given me all the space and grace for me to be myself. It has given me all the autonomy and the confidence to go out for what I want, to establish a real relationship with the divine, for me to really do that shadow work so I can be the best version of myself in ways that religion has never been able to tap into. Spirituality has. So it wasn't necessarily a join my clique, join my side, as opposed to like, this is why I stand where I stand. And I also, you know, gave her some things to think about. Like, you know what? The Bible doesn't talk about you needing to go to church. Matter of fact, Jesus technically was a Jew. He wasn't even a Christian. Like, you don't need a middleman to come between you and your creator, to come between you and the divine. You've already had that spark of divinity within you because the divine made you. So it's just things that, you know, maybe sat on her head, maybe not, but conversations nonetheless. I don't know if I'm going to use everything. I've been pulling out certain colors. I don't know if I'm going to use all these colors, to be honest with you, because I only like the paints that aren't like mixed. For example, like this is kind of pink purpley, but that's okay to a degree because like this pink purpley blends. But like this yellow, well, let's see if I got a better piece. Like right here, if you can see it, this green with this pink, I probably wouldn't use that section because I don't like it being meshed. I like them separate, the colors. So yeah, I think we've gotten everything that we needed. This is what's left, and I'm probably gonna wash it. And this is what we're left with, the dried up paints, right? So we got our hot glue on deck, we got our scissors on deck, and we got the canvas. And obviously I'm gonna say once again, use caution, because this is hot for a reason. Last time I wasn't really thinking. I was caught up in the creativity of it all, and I kind of got like this bruise. It's okay, I'm fine. But for facilitator to watcher, be careful with the glue gun. And if you're a minor, you shouldn't be here. And also, if you're a minor, ask for your parents' assistance. And yeah, the paints. So I'm done talking for now, and let me just get into the gist of things, and y'all go watch. I also want to state, like, to be very careful when you're using the scissors, because you don't want to cut yourself either. So be careful with that, as well as like, because we're using glue, sometimes we'll have excess glue. For me, I will clean up the edges, but I'll be careful. So like, for example, there's glue that's in more places on the canvas than I want. So I would hold the piece of dried up clay that I added, and then I would cut around the glue so it doesn't cut into the canvas, as well as I don't cut myself, because that would suck. And again, be very cautious. Stringy, obviously glue, it's nothing, just roll it, turn into a little ball thingy and put to the side. When you're done, you can just throw it away. So if you end up doing the pop-up effect, you'll realize that paints are interesting. Like the smallest, like thinnest layer of paint feels kind of like papery, but like the thicker the dried up paint, it feels more rubbery, if you can see, and it actually stretches. So you might see like that's a different, whereas like this is not much stretch, it rips. So just a side note. It's also interesting because on our girls' night out on Saturday, we ended up having a discussion about left-handed versus right-handed. As you can see, I'm a lefty. I've always been a lefty. I remember in like first, second grade, I remember in school, I will not name the school, but I remember in school, they were trying to make me use my right hand because I guess left-handedness was seen as bad or some type of obstacle. But unconsciously, I would always gravitate to my left hand. So much so, like, I think they just kind of gave it up because I was a failed science experiment, because without thinking, I would always gravitate to my left. Now, I write with my left. I can with my right if I'm consciously thinking about it, but I can and do prefer my left hand because that's the more superior hand. But in certain instances, like, I'll use my right hand as well. So yeah, we were having a conversation about left-handed and right-handedness, and I was like, yeah, I'm a lefty. And there was discussions like, do I feel like it's an obstacle? And I'm like, no, because though my left hand is the most predominant hand, if there's something that's right-handedness, I would just gravitate to my left hand. And if I can't gravitate to my left hand, I would just use my right hand. But I've never thought about it like, oh my God, I wish there were more left-handed things. Of course, I'm thinking about it because I'm using scissors. And apparently scissors are for people who are lefties and righties. Of all my time in grade school and all my time in high school and even college, because I did take an art class in college, I've never felt like I had an obstacle with scissors because I'm a left-handed person. Because again, maybe consciously, I already pick out the things that are, or unconsciously without me knowing it, aware of it, I'll pick out left-handed things. So I never think about like, oh man, like if I picked out the right-handed things, I'd be screwed. I don't really think like that because I guess I'm pretty adaptable. But does that affect you as a lefty or even as a right-handed person? Like, do you feel like the world is not flexible to left-handed plights? Do you feel like you have a left-handed plight? As a left-handed person, again, like, I don't know, I never thought it was a big hoopla. I never thought about it. So I've always just used my left hand. And if for whatever reason, whatever I'm using isn't left hand appropriate, then I would just find an alternative. Is that you, or are you like, no, like make space for left-handedness? Let me know in the comments. But now thinking about it, I think I am the only left-handed person that I know, including people in my family. I think I'm the only one. But it's so fitting. It's so fitting that I would be the one who's left-handed. I don't like the access paint. I mean the access glue. I don't like the access glue, so I'm always trying to like remove that extra glue. It's not a big deal, but to me it's a big deal. Again, gentle strokes. You don't want to do anything crazy to rip the canvas or remove the dried paint on the canvas. We don't want to damage it in any way, shape, or form. As you can see, I'm giving it like a collage type of tease. I'm going with like the, what would you call it? Aesthetics. Like, right, we're in like the whole aesthetics thing, right? As depending on where you are on the grand placement of the internet and social media, but like there's this thing about aesthetics. So it's like the colors are on the nose, but it's not so bland. It's like multi-dimensional. As you can see, this is like a darker purple, but like this is like a medium lightish purple, and it's like a collage type of tease. You can also see it with here. This is being a darker green, and this is being more bluish. So it's like bouncing off of one another. The colors, they're not so like uniform. As you can see, this is all yellow, this is all blue, whereas this is kind of like a tone off or a tone above. So they're of the same color scheme, if that makes sense. Kind of like my plant. I want to make sure everything is on par. You see my spider plant, how it's like on brand. This is a darker green, this is a lighter green, but like aesthetically it looks nice. Let me put it back without anything falling. But like that's what I'm trying to go with. Like it matches. It's not too on the nose, but it flows and blends together. I realized that I don't have enough yellow, dried up yellow. I only have like this piece. I'm thinking, because who uses tinfoil in art like that? I'm thinking like I might do like a combination of like tinfoil and this yellow, but I gotta map it up in my head first before I, you know, jump into it. The Taurus in me would not allow me to jump into it. Like I gotta think about it. But I think I'm gonna go with that, but we're gonna build up to that climax. So stay tuned. I also found like my original paint palette, because I've been doing this for a very long time, and for the longest I've always held on to like Access Paint, and now I know what to do with it. So like I guess this is going to be my artistry theme where I do pop-up art, gives it more dimension and whatnot. So future note. I'm gonna use parts of the old paper palette because there's colors that I want to add and give it a color scheme, but what I already have, I've already used. So I want to add a little bit more boom. I don't want it to be so melancholy here, and then here's, you know, it's more jazzy, if you get my drift. So as you can see, this is what I've gotten already. It looks jazzed up as is. Now we got the yellow portion. Now I'm thinking I could use the dried up paint that I have, and I also have the old paper palette with this yellow, and I think I really am going to use all those yellows, but I'm really digging the vibe of the aluminum foil. I want to see how that's going to play out, So that's what I'm gonna do. I found another paint palette and I'm going to use that yellow, obviously, because I'm running out of yellow. But we're still going to make it do what it do. It's coming along. It's coming along. It's different than I actually thought it would be, but I'm waiting to see what the finished look will look like, because it's giving me chaos and then it just kind of blends in. It's kind of like divine chaos, which is actually the depiction of this canvas, divine chaos, where in the thick of it all, it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, the apocalypse, oh my God, revelation, oh my God, like the world is gonna end. And then as it slowly comes back to normal or things start to rebuild itself, you're kind of like, you know what? I might have been hyperbolic about everything. I could have just been like at the highest of my anxiety. It could have been my paranoia, like woosah, like, ooh, I was tripping. And it's kind of like that type of tease that I'm going for, where it's like, of course, in the thick of it, you're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But after, where hindsight is 2020, you can look back at something 2020. COVID. Hindsight is 2020. When you look back at it, you're like, you know what? I didn't like it. If I had a choice, I would not go through it again. But you know what? I survived that. And that's what I'm trying to go with this. So let me continue doing what I do, and hopefully it comes out great. Also, whoever makes glue guns, it'd be great if there was like a feature that would stop the glue from guzzling or oozing out, especially when you're not using it. That'd be great, because I think a part of the glue running out is because it just oozes out and you can't stop it unless you unplug it. And who wants to unplug and replug every time you're trying to dot a glue on a particular part in your portrait? But we're back with another glue stick. Don't hold me to it because I don't know, but I'm thinking about having a live stream on this channel, and I want to talk about the whole Me Too Time's Up controversy. I want to talk about why the Me Too movement failed, and it's not what most people would think a contrarian opinion would be. I'm not going to slander victims of sexual assault. I'm not going to use any misogyny or sexism, but I want to talk about the real life implications of money and morality. In my opinion, money and morality don't mix. They've never mixed. We have countless examples in history where people with ill intention or good intention invest in a movement, invest in a cause, invest in whatever, and next thing you know, the original idea and energy behind the movement is totally different once the money comes in. Whether we're talking about the Me Too movement, Time's Up, whether we're talking about Black Lives Matter, whether we're talking about the what was it, the one percenters, Occupy Wall Street movement that happened in 2012. Like every time where there's like something coming up, bubbling up in a social sphere that would help the greater society, there's some type of double agent that comes through and the energy is decimated. So I want to talk about how that happens with the whole Me Too Time's Up movement, but I don't know if I'm gonna have the time today to talk about it, but I definitely want to talk about it because I think a lot of people missed the cues, missed the warning signs, missed the, you know, back alley shady deals, and it wasn't really shown to be what it was until Andrew Cuomo got exposed for being a sexual harasser. Though everybody knew he was a sexual harasser, but didn't do or say anything because power. So we're going to talk about that eventually. So stay tuned. Typically, I wouldn't want that like black to have crossed over with the gold. I wouldn't have taken it like that. I would have cut out the black and kept the gold. Not only am I running out of dried paint, which means that I have recycled them within my portraits, but also I like the idea of divine chaos, and divine chaos is never clean. It's never like organized. It's never systematic. It just happens. It's like a blow up, right? So with blow ups, some things are, you know, no longer viable. Certain things have expired. Certain things get really dirty and muddied. Sometimes it breaks and it can't rebuild itself up, or people can't rebuild it. And that's all a part of the process of life. So for this canvas, I'll keep the black part in, but typically I would like them aesthetically pleasing to me, to blue just with blue, purple with just purple, yellow just with yellow, and that's just that on that. But we're gonna do a little something different because it's literally divine chaos. Hopefully y'all had some time to go out with your friends too, whatever that looks like for you, or go out in nature. I know it's hot, but technically it is fall season and eventually it will wind down, but get into nature as much as you can. Get into it, yeah. Get into nature as much as you can. Put your toes in the sands. Live, like literally live, like go out there, do. You don't have to be at Coachella to live. You don't have to be on a boat to live. You don't have to be in Greece to live. You don't have to be on a vacation to live. You can live now. Like living is a choice. Doing is a choice. Being present is a choice. Investing in self is a choice. So do so, because you deserve it. And you'll meet interesting people along the way. And perhaps even find your soul tribe. Because I promise you, whatever you're going through, good, bad, or indifferent, there are so many other people who feel the same way too. Believe that. Believe that. I promise you. And in real life too, not just social media, but in real life, you'll realize people are going through the same things too. And you're really not alone. It is just the human experience. But with society being the way that it is, especially American society, let's be honest, everything is for the culture or everything is either you're on this side or that side, and we're canceling, we're dragging. Like, it does not have to be that way. That's also a choice. To participate in the effery is also a choice. In some regards, yes, we do not have the control. And in some regards, yes, we are, you know, under, I don't want to say siege because that's dramatic, but like we're under limitations. Let's say that in certain situations, yes, we are under limitations and we can't do everything that we want to do. But in certain situations, we do have the freedom. And even when we don't have the luxury to do what we want, trust and believe me, if we're loud enough, things get changed. If we're unified enough, things get changed. If we love on each other radically enough, even if we don't agree on 100% of the things, but the things that matter, and we stick on that, then nobody can separate us. But we have to believe in that and practice that, right? Just like self-care painting, that's practice in action. It's not just saying a bunch of like fluffy words about, yes, wellness and self-care and holistic and mental health. Like, in practice, what does that look like to you? When you are actively on the canvas, when you are letting your mind just roam, when you're not thinking about tomorrow, what bills got to get paid and what you got to do and who you got to do it with, just existing in the moment. That's radical self-love. That's radical self-care. Especially in a day and age where we're always ripping and running. Always ripping and running, getting nowhere fast, right? And of course, I'm not saying this in a sense of like, leave everything that you've ever known and just like go on the road. Not necessarily, because as a Taurus, that's not the advice I would give. However, as a Taurus, a self-actualized Taurus, I'm also not going to say play the game, play the rules, do what everybody else expects you to, because from personal experience and what I know in general, especially from a psychological point of view, you will feel unfulfilled. And not only will you feel unfulfilled, you'll become more resentful, more cynical, and more even depressed about life and yourself. And depression is anger turned inwards, where you feel like you can't express how you feel. You feel like you aren't supported. You feel like you are casted out into the world. You feel like you're drained. And these are symptoms of depression. Not everybody has the same degree of expression or degree of depression or expresses depression in the same way, but those are common features. So it's important for you to love on yourself, respect yourself, set boundaries for yourself, but also test the waters. Also live, do, be. So the last thing you want to do is realize whatever time later that you could have done what you really wanted to do if you really just had the motivation, the courage, of this, that, and the third. You don't want to look back at your life and be like, I have no idea what I did with this. I have no idea what I did. I don't know what I experienced. Like, it was just a blur. You don't want to do that. And again, from a personal point of view, understanding psychology, because I do have a bachelor's in psychology. I took a lot of psychological classes, as well as just a human, just like you. You don't want to live for other people's gazes. You don't want to live in a box. And you also don't want to not live, because you'll look back one of these days and be like, what in the tire F? And that's when like the depression creeps in, the anger creeps in, the shoulda, woulda, coulda creeped in, and so on and so forth. And that's not healthy either, because you can't live in the past. You can only go forward. You know? Okay. We're getting along. We're going along. It's going along. And as you can see with this was excess paint that hovered underneath the lid of the paint. So as it got hard, it looks like the hole where the paint comes out of. So yeah. And of course, this would be the ring around the top of the lid where the paint is. It's crazy that I actually just kept them. Never realized what I was going to do with them. I honestly was like, I could just wash it away. It's not like I need it. But a part of me was like, oh my goodness, it's such a waste. It would be wasteful to throw it away and just look at the clumps of paint that spilled, or that, you know, other participants over used. But like divine planning, everything has its reasons, even if we don't know exactly why, but everything has its rhyme and reasons. Since technically it's summer is over in quotations, but it's global warming, so is it really over? But anyways, how was your summer? Did you go anywhere? Did you do anything? I didn't go anywhere, though I kind of did, but with the whole Delta Lambda Lamborghini, whatever variant, and the original COVID, I was just like, do I want to risk my life? Not really. Not really. Not really. Like, do I really want to be on that beach? Of course I want to be on the beach. Do I really want to eat gelato? Of course I want to eat gelato. Do I really want to live my best? Of course. But will I risk my life? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Even if I know I'll bounce back, I don't want to go through, having to go to the hospital, heavy breathing, the possibility of like liquids just accumulating in my lungs, like, no. Or worse, if I did actually travel internationally and I don't know, I caught COVID from somebody else, they're not going to allow me back on a plane. They're not going to be like, oh, sit in the back of the plane, don't cough, wear a mask, here's some hand sanitizer, here's some Robitussin, we're going to get you back to the United States and everything will be everything. I don't believe so. I think they'd be like, good luck, and it would just leave me there. So like, do I want to risk my life on those terms? Absolutely not. So I stayed in my state. I know other people traveled, which is not for me to say you should or should not have, because COVID fatigue is a legitimate thing. Being in your home all the time and you're not an introvert, and even introverts, me being one of them, it's cool to a certain degree. Then you realize like, oh my gosh, I've been hibernating for like a year and a half. I don't want this for my life. So you get out there, but again, safely. I don't know how y'all feel about the whole mask situation. I don't know if you mind. I don't know if you feel like it's infringing on your rights. I don't know where you stand on that. I guess if you want to, in the comments below, you can tell me where you stand on that. Me personally, I'm not feeling to argue with death. That's how I look at it. I'm not feeling to argue with death, period. Okay, if I have a better chance of surviving with no mask, guess what? It's a no mask type of life for me. If I survive better with a mask, then guess what? Mask all day. Mask on, and it stays on. That's just it. I really don't understand all of the hoopla around it, because it's like nobody's really outside like that. Not in these days. So when you are out, it's probably to go to a restaurant and go back home. It's probably to do an activity and go back home. People aren't really lingering in these streets like that, okay? So I don't understand what the whole hoopla is, because the way I look at it, think smarter, not harder. The way I look at it is in and out. I'm not feeling that. Okay? F-E-E-L-N-A. Feeling that. I'm not feeling that. Be in any environment where there's a risk to my health. Now, call me crazy, call me bizarre, call me extra, but I'm not feeling to sit in an area and just wing it, and the harm is going to be so severe that I could lose my life. Like, the way I look at it, in and out, like the burger. But I'm on the East Coast, so I don't really know how the burger in the restaurant be like, but nonetheless, in and out. I'm not. Unless I know where I'm going, I know that I'm safe, and I'm around people that I actually trust. Other than that, I'm filling up. Word of the day, filling up, in and out. That's it. But I don't know. Everything turns into a culture war these days, so I don't want to offend nobody. But the way that I look at things, in and out, because I just can't. It's not necessarily strictly about, okay, what about treatments and what about healthcare, and you could go to, I don't. Truth be told, I don't even really like going to the hospital like that. Between me and whoever watches this video, between us, okay, I don't really like going to the hospital like that. I only go for my regular exams if something really is affecting me, and that's pretty much it. I avoid hospitals at all costs, because even before COVID, I knew that there's a thing called superbugs. As clean as hospitals are, the way that viruses operate, they duplicate themselves. So yes, you can kill all the germs, but if you're consistently cleaning on a cleanliness and hygienic measure, you're doing everything well. But on a virus level, there's always that 1%, Usually you'll see this in the backs of a Clorox wipes bottle or cloths in general. They'll say 99.9 effective. That 0.1 is the virus duplicating itself to become more stronger. Hence with COVID, why you see so many variants, because the longer a virus is able to be out in these streets, the more it's able to better navigate to exist. And a virus exists based off of our collectively bad health. So even with superbugs, I try to avoid it because it's harder to kill a superbug than a regular bug. And it's harder to deal with Delta than the original COVID. And there's more variants of COVID. So needless to say, I don't really put my health at risk. And when I say I don't really, I mean like I go out for the essentials, or I go out with people that I trust, that I know ain't putting their lives in danger. Therefore, they're not putting my life in danger. And we reciprocate that energy, because I would not want to put someone else's life in danger. So if it's mask on, it's a mask on type of season for me. But that's just me though. Y'all tell me what you think. I don't want to be anybody's, guilt trip. I don't want anybody to feel that way. But like, honestly, let's just be honest. Let's just call it for what it is. And on top of that, again, the way I think, it's not political. It's just simple probabilities of dying versus living. It really just comes down to that. It really just comes down to that. Alrighty, I think I'm done. I think I am done here. Yeah, I think I'm done. So let me do a little mirror magic and I will wrap up this Paint Your Truth session. So we're back. So this is a finished portrait. So this is the finished portrait. This is how it looks. And I'll give you a little background on the portrait. The tinfoil is kind of shiny, so sometimes it may not look like it's there, or it looks kind of wonky, and it's probably the mirror, it's probably the reflection aspect of tinfoil. But like I said, I stated I used tinfoil that covered up the canvases or the paint palettes that were covered in paint. So I used some of the access paints to add on to the canvas. Everything outside of like this arrow or this spark, or I was going with that whole, like when an asteroid hits the earth, it gives you that like that cracking effect, like it's just like this narrow dotted, like it has a direction it's going in, but you see all the illumination after it. You see like the fire, the smoke, the everything in the background, but as it's getting closer to its target, it gets more defined. That's the aspect of the portrait. So everything here is pretty much 2D. It's typical paint on canvas, but From this little dot that is gold and all the way up is paint, dried up paint parts. Dried up paints that I added to the canvas to give it a pop-up effect. These spacious areas are the tin foil, so it's kind of reflective. I wanted to originally add more yellow, just add yellow pop-up dried up paints onto the canvas. However, I didn't have enough, as well as like I wanted to give it that 3D pop-up effect. As you can see, like there's a color scheme here where it's not just one solid like purple. This is a lighter purple, whereas this is a darker, this is that green area, and then it goes up and up and up. I wanted it to give the essence of divine chaos, because when we're talking about chaos, whether we're talking about a natural disaster like an earthquake that happened in Haiti or Hurricane Ida, like these are things that are not necessarily predictable. Hurricane's a little different, but an earthquake, it hits, but like that's just that on that. And in the thick of it, it's chaos, it's unorganized, it's panic, it's hysteria, it's even death. And all of that is happening at the same time, while not knowing if this situation is over, will there be a second wave of this, or whatever the case may be. You're in the thick of it. But as you get to rebuilding, you know, after the storm, so to speak, after that, you get to rebuilding, you get to fixing, you get to discarding. You see that you survived this. No matter how traumatic it was, how hectic it was, how chaotic it was, you were able to survive whatever you're surviving. And that's what I wanted this portrait to depict, that regardless through what, you will be able to go through it and survive it. Like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And the way that I look at things, yes, from more of a spiritual perspective, but like we're always going through transformations. We're always trying to improve ourselves. And sometimes we don't even try to improve ourselves. Like things just happen. And that's kind of like the tower effect, just like in tarot. It's a surprise change. And that surprise change can come with obstacles. It can come with disparities, let's be honest. But also it shows you what you are made of. It challenges you to rise to the occasion. It shows you what no longer fits in your world. And that's all a part of divine chaos. We cannot escape it, but we have to go through it. We have to flow through it. And through whatever the situation ultimately ends up being, you will never be what you were before the situation, but you will always be better or changed by said situation. So that is the depiction of divine chaos. Y'all let me think what you think about it in the comment section down below. So how did I feel about the painting process? Because if this was a painting workshop, this is what I would be asking the participants. So how I felt about the painting, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like I was in the zone. I was really zen. I was with it. Then like curiosity got the cat, and I was like, oh, let me check my email. Then checking my email turned into like, let me check Twitter, and then like ended up doing that. So I got distracted, but then I came back into like adding pieces, and interestingly enough, even though I was distracted, when I came back to adding on to the portrait, it made me feel like a lot more like I'm not thinking about it. I'm not like, oh, does it fit like this, and is it perfect like that? I was just like, boom here, add that, you know, take away the excess glue. It was just like methodical. I didn't really think about it. And I think that's also a part of self-care and giving yourself space and grace, not going in a direct point and not trying to receive or reach a particular goal. It's just the process, enjoying the journey, enjoying the process. So that's how I felt about the painting process, which is like a little different because we're doing a pop-up effect. And how will I implement this into my daily routine? Because that's also what I'll be asking if I had a typical painting workshop. I think I really am bad at this, but I'm gonna call myself out because I'm imperfect too. Going with the flow. I have such a hard time because I'm a fixed sign, I'm a Taurus. I have such a hard time letting things just be. I have such a hard time being in the in-between. I have such a hard time with like not knowing what the next step is and being breezy with it. Like Ooh, that's really hard for me. So I think with this, it's like, put your best foot forward. Don't stress yourself. Because the gag is, I will stress myself. And then the outcome that I knew was going to happen happens. And then I'm just like, oh. It's like, why do you even stress out if like, it's that. And this will remind me of like, nothing is perfect. This canvas isn't perfect. Life is not perfect. But somehow, some way, with the intent and with the consistency and the progress, you'll get to where you're trying to get to, just at its own divine timing. So I will be mindful and hold myself accountable for always being a worry wart. Because that, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, wow, my mind could like over and over, like, So just letting things happen on some tame Impala impatience. Just let it happen. Is that the song? No, patience is time change, so don't be late, cause time wait for no one. So that's more like that. But just let it happen is another Tame Impala song. But the point is, just zen out, because at the end of the day, no one has a script for life. No one knows the agenda. No one knows the time, people, places. No one knows nothing about nothing. We are just experiencing and trying to make the best decisions, the best choices, period. So that is Pace Your Truth for today. Let's do a tap of the singing bowl. Inhale, exhale. That was kind of weak, so we're gonna do it again. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for participating. Let me know in the comment section if that's something that you would do, like pop-up art. All you need is some like dried up, caked up paint. And if you use paint, you already got it on deck. Okay. As well as glue and a glue gun. Glue gun and the glue sticks. Get multiple glue sticks, especially if you're going to be working on a project like that, because you will go through them fast. But let me know something that you're interested in. It's giving me like mosaic type of teas. It's giving me like a glass stain windows type of teas, because it's not quote unquote perfect, but it's perfectly for me. I feel like that's some type of acne thing. It's perfect for me, this product. But thank you for joining me, and I shall see you on the next Paint Your Truth process painting session, probably on a Sunday. This was a little bit impromptu. If I do end up doing that, like why did Me Too Times Up flop, it'll be a live stream on the Paint Your Truth channel. So whether you're subscribed or you stroll through or whatever the case may be, it'll be there. So if you come live, you come live. If you don't, it's okay. And you can follow me on social media everywhere: Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram. Except Instagram is Paint Your Truth, regular spelling, PAINTYOUTRUTH. Except on Instagram, it's an underscore, so don't forget the underscore. Put it all together, and everywhere else is just regular Paint Your Truth. So, and if you would like to email me so you can set up your own painting session, or you would like to contact me, you can always reach me via email at paintyourtruth.art@gmail.com. With all that being said, be blessed, be enlightened, be loved. I am out. Peace. Everything's in the description like every other YouTuber.